Nearly 15,000 volunteers assist Spokane Public Schools in providing a quality education and extracurricular activities for our students. Welcome to School Talk. I'm Terren Roloff, and joining me today are Robin Fiorillo, Volunteer Specialist, Betty Crapo, Volunteer Extraordinaire in our schools, and Dr. Nancy Stowell, Superintendent of Spokane Public Schools. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Terren.
Thank you. We're kicking off our new year with this
is
show.
Our first show, isn't
That's
it?
right.
That's right.
So, Dr. Stowell, would you please tell our audience about the importance of volunteering and how they can help?
I'd be glad to. You know, education is a people business, and it's really important that we have as many opportunities as we can to develop relationships. And with teachers and large classes and not enough support staff, it is critical for us to be able to have volunteers work with us as partners in our schools. And so it's really part of the fabric of what we do every day. I can't imagine where we would be without those 15,000 volunteers. And the thing is, when you're in a school, you don't know who's the teacher and who's the volunteer and who's the principal. It's just all these people really working together, and the real beneficiaries of that are our kids. So it's a great, great thing for kids.
And Robin, as the volunteer specialist for the school district, you work with coordinators at each of our schools. Sometimes there's a couple of them. Yeah. And why don't you explain what some of the work is that you help nurture and that they help nurture in their individual schools?
Well, most of our volunteers do come from our parents. They have students there. That's how a lot of people get started. And they just start with classroom help, or schools have carnivals and book fairs. Sometimes it's clerical work. I mean, any help they can give the teachers is so appreciated because our teachers are busier than ever. And sometimes just spending a little extra one-on-one time reading with a student can really help them get caught up and get them back on track, and just having somebody to talk to. They like the attention from a grown-up.
And we have lots of college students as well.
We have a huge amount of college students from GU. They're fortunate they're very close to both Stevens and Logan schools, and they, at Logan, a lot of college students come in and they just are paired up with a student for 1 hour around lunchtime, and they have lunch with the student, and then they go out on the playground for recess. And the administrators at Logan have said that they've had much fewer discipline issues at lunch because the kids are engaged, because these college students are playing with the kids. They're organizing kickball and wall ball and all kinds of activities so that the kids are engaged and having fun and not looking for something to get in trouble or do mischief. Yes.
And they're also providing a role model for going to college eventually.
Yes, yeah.
Might tell a little bit about that.
One program that GU has actually takes the students over to GU, to the campus, and that's for a lot of kids, that would be their first exposure to, what does a college campus look like, and what do the kids look like there. And so, that's a great thing to start at that young age.
It sets the stage for them.
Get them thinking.
So before we hear from Betty, a lot of people are a little bit surprised about the 15,000. Why don't you tell about how we do background checks regardless of whether you volunteer 1 day, 1 hour, or all year?
Granted, that 15,000 is a huge number, but a lot of those parents will do 1 or 2 field trips a year, or 1 hour a week. Some are in there every single day. I encourage every parent to sign up as a volunteer and undergo the background check, even if they work full-time, because it's so much easier when that one field trip comes along and you have the day off and you want to go. It's much easier for you to step right on the bus if you're already cleared. If you're not cleared, you may not be able to go on the field trip, because we need to make sure all of our volunteers are safe to be around our students and that our students are safe.
And so your assistant helps you clear them through the Washington
State background checks, right. Yes. And then each school manages a list of their volunteers. So
right. Good. So Betty, we assume you've been cleared.
About 10 years ago now, actually.
And we actually do that every 2 years, so you've been cleared more than that. Welcome, and tell us about your volunteer experience.
Well, this is my 10th year, and I started like a kindergarten mom, like most of my neighbors, and we just got the idea of, well, why don't you watch my kids this day, and I'll go volunteer for 2 hours, and I'll watch your kid, and we wound up having 4 mothers that took 2-hour shifts at the school. And at the time, there was a really nice gal that just kind of lived in the workroom. And she said she would just cut the door off and close it and just assist people as they came to her room. And she trained all of us. And so, you know, we got to go there all scared because, you know, we were kindergarten moms. We got to go there all scared. And she trained us and just gave us this is your community, this is your place, please come. Pick a teacher, pick 5 teachers. And, you know, as she moved on, I took her spot, and now I'm a volunteer coordinator at Shaw because I, you know, took that person's spot and somebody's taken mine. And we're just, you know, there's volunteer leaders and there's volunteer followers. And I started as a follower and I became a leader, and just want to encourage everybody to pick one of those routes or do all of them over their time with the school district.
And you're moving on to Rogers now as a new mom of a
Yes,
freshman.
my first chaperoning the dance is tomorrow night.
Aww.
I do have permission from my teenager, yes I do. But she asked me in a very offhanded way, she's like, Mom, one of my fellow soccer players' mom can't chaperone, and would you take her spot? Because she didn't want to ask me directly because she's a teenager. But yes, I am now allowed, after 10 years of volunteering in her school, saying I would never be allowed to step in her school. First dance in September. She's asked me. So our children do want us there no matter what they say. They want us to be involved. They want us to know what they're going through without us telling them. And without volunteering, we'd have to read minds. But with volunteering, you're in there, you know who Mrs. Cox is, you know who Mr. Castile is. You know, you already know. So when the stories come home, they're like, oh, let me tell you. And I'm like, oh, I can so see that. And so it's just, you don't have to read minds if you volunteer.
And I like the idea of having lots of adult eyes on my own children.
Sure.
I like to know that if, you know, I can't be around, that there's other adults that my kids are comfortable going to if they don't feel good or they're having a bad day. And those are the relationships that our students start to form with their volunteers.
Well, and we have elderly people, grandpa and grandmas.
We do.
Who,
we have lots of grandmas and grandpas
who are out there volunteering and giving kids that role model for a grandparent, because many of our children don't live near their grandparents. And so that's a wonderful thing too, and it's really a meaningful experience to some of our older people that they get to do that and they enjoy it so much.
Because some of them don't live near their own grandchildren.
That's right.
And they all say, it just keeps me young, it keeps me young. And we have women in their 80s that spend all day in a kindergarten classroom. I couldn't do that at my age. There's no way. But they know the routine. They know what's going on, and they assist the teacher keep the little munchkins in line, and they know the curriculum, so they feel comfortable and confident helping the students.
Tell us about the most unique kind of volunteer we have.
Well, that would probably be Molly the dog. Molly and her owner, Karen, have been volunteers at Holmes Elementary for many years. And Karen will have a couple students per year that are identified as needing a little extra help with reading. And she'll pull those students out for a little bit of time, and she goes into a room and sets up a little mat on the floor and has the appropriate books that the student needs to be reading. And they sit down on the floor with Molly the dog. She's a beautiful German Shepherd, very gentle, and they curl up together, and it just kind of relaxes the student and, you know, just makes them feel comfortable. And Molly actually looks interested, so you know they really believe they're reading to Molly. And it's kind of hard because not all the students in the class get to be with Molly, so they have set up a system where Molly has a mailbox on the back of the door. And the students can write Molly letters. And then Molly picks up her mail, and they go home, and Molly answers their letters. So then the students come to school, and they have a letter to read, and they get to read their letters. So they're working on their, you know, the kids maybe don't get it at the time, but they're also doing a little bit of literacy right there. Gotta sneak it in where we can.
Right. Anybody else? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, Betty, I saw your cross-country kids just a couple weeks ago, didn't I?
Yes,
So
that is the reason I am dressed like this, because the moment the cameras are off, I have to sprint over to Cooper to to the cross country for the first and second graders. And I appreciated you visiting them and showing that you do not run in high heels.
That's right.
Tennis shoes are appropriate. And as we were
I was a
saying,
runner, but not today.
yeah, as we were saying earlier, that you can run while toothless.
Yeah.
And knowing this, having those little kindergartners looking up to the first graders, knowing that you can run even if you have no teeth is wonderful. So no, cross country is just another opportunity. You know, we talk about supporting the teachers with reading and having people come in, but having those children so gung-ho about school, if it's because of sports or music or art or whatever, and you know, those are volunteer opportunities because, you know, our teachers have their hands full. There was only so many. I got 3 assistant coaches for cross country to help the cross country. I'm obviously an assistant coach too, but just having those, we have 127 kids running cross country at Cooper.
That field, my heavens.
And you know, without volunteers, how would we deal with that? We couldn't. That opportunity would be eliminated. And you think of how many opportunities would be eliminated. And if those children are excited about just one factor of school that isn't academic, that is going to assist them in their academic
difference
progress.
with kids is at the end of the day, they still have tons of energy. As I watched all those little kids running around the field. So.
Well, speaking of cross country, another fabulous way we see volunteers is through nonprofits who step up to help us. And Active for Youth is one of those nonprofits. And they, Robin, you want to tell a little bit about that program?
Well, we've, you know, obviously had to make so many cuts with extracurriculars, and we actually did used to have sports in elementary schools, and the kids would play team sports against each other, and all of that had to be eliminated. And the one sport the kids loved the most, because you could do it at any age, was the cross country. So this was a perfect sport to bring back because the littlest kids can do that too, and that's what they want to do. I mean, as soon as they get into school, and we have kids that, you know, some of them that can't afford to do extracurricular sports unless they're in their, you know, they can do them at school. So Active for Youth has provided this opportunity for all of our elementary schools, and we, like Betty said, we get a huge turnout at all the schools, and then they compete against each other. I think they're set up by zones, so there's like 4 zones.
Yeah. And then they have the big.
And then they have a big all-city, and it's
up at Comstock.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Beautiful
I mean,
fall day. All those children running.
We're so
Lots
fortunate.
of volunteers.
Lots and lots of volunteers.
So we're very fortunate that we were able to bring that sport back for the kids.
Another one we have is, I think, the golf tee.
Yeah, for golf for elementary kids too as well.
Same kind of idea. That although we never had that in the beginning, but just another option for kiddos to interest them, keep them in, keep them wanting to be involved in school days.
You know,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, when we got to meet the volunteer coordinators the other day, I got to chat with them a little while. As I looked at that audience, I was just so impressed with people I'd known over the years who had been involved in so many district activities. They serve on district committees. Betty, you serve on the Citizens Advisory Committee. You have represented your school at those monthly meetings. And there are people running for offices, political offices, and people who have been over the years at different schools, like you, kind of grew up with their children and moved from elementary to middle to high school. And they're very busy people and certainly strong supporters of our kids. It was just wonderful to be with them, to spend a little bit of time with them. I was certainly impressed. And Betty, you're in school. I mean, you're going to school during the day. I am going to school.
But, you know,
how do you fit it all in?
I'm a very good scheduler. But no, I wanted to, you know, what you were just saying reminds me that volunteering is like a hobby. You know, and we make it sound, it can sound like, you know, you have to know what you're doing and you have to be someplace and do that. But, you know, it's my hobby time. It literally is. And, you know, I walk around and I don't do everything right. And, you know, I have to ask teachers, oh, you're going to need to give me really good directions. And when I mess up, you know, I just show them my name tag, because my name tag doesn't have a picture on it, because I'm a volunteer. I can mess up here all I want, you know, and I'll go, oh, messed up, no picture on the name tag. And you know, it really, it can be a serious thing that can help you in your future career, or, you know, whatever people might want to volunteer for. But just the hobby of being able to go someplace and do something that you're really appreciated and you're making a difference.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's real. You know that every day, don't you?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a wonderful feeling, you know, and I think it's funny because, you know, after school everybody's so tired. I'm not tired. I coach. I'm going to chaperone the Shaw dance from 3:15 to 5, and then I'm going to chaperone the Rogers dance from 7:15 to 10, and I'm going to make sure to get a good healthy meal, maybe some salmon and rice in the middle, so I won't be tired. So no, but that I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this is a great conversation, and I can't believe we're out of time. So I do want Robin to give folks some information about how they can become a volunteer before we close up.
They can get a volunteer application at any of our schools and either return it to the school or send it to me at the address on the application. We have them posted online, and they can just print a copy off and send it to me. We'll do a background check. It takes about a week, and then they're cleared to volunteer.
All right, and there is information online at SpokaneSchools.org, or they can call you at 354-7277. Very good. All right, thank you so much for joining us,
Thank
Betty.
you, Betty.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of School Talk.